Hello my creative critters and welcome to Sketching with Sarah. I'm Sarah and today I am trying out the alcohol markers from Jazza's Pro Artist series collab Spectrum Noir to create a totally new piece of art with a medium that is totally new to me. If you want to see a more unboxing and first impressions type video of this box, I made a whole video unboxing and swatching and doodling with everything in the box, and I'll have it linked here for you to check it out if you're interested. But for this video I am drawing my SNAILCK critter, which is a fun animal hybrid that I made up, which is of course a hybrid of a snail and a duck. You best believe I'm going to be sharing cool things that I learned about both snails and ducks in this video too, so look forward to that. Before I get into the fun animal facts, I do want to talk a little bit about my process through this illustration, because wow, it was a process. Since I've never used alcohol markers for a whole illustration before, this drawing was a complete trial and error struggle, and I won't lie, I was getting really discouraged through most of it because of all of the streakiness, and I just wasn't happy with it, and it wasn't shaping up to what I imagined. I think the most challenging part of this whole alcohol marker process was trying to get a flat color with that brush tip side of the markers, and you'll especially see me struggle to color in with that icy blue color for the base color of the shell later on, and maybe that marker was already dried out or something, but man, that was really hard to deal with. But I kept telling myself to trust the process, and I kept with it, and toward the end when I started seeing it all come together, I really started enjoying the process using alcohol markers. It took a while to get there, but I did get there eventually. I have no experience using alcohol markers, besides just using it as basically a sketching tool. I've never had any lessons or guidance in art school on alcohol markers or how to use them to illustrate, and after working through this drawing, I want to start to binge some YouTube artists who use alcohol markers and try and learn from them too. I'll also link a video that I watched from Hello Alice. And I watched this video while working on this drawing, and she uses some Spectrum Noir alcohol markers too, and I really just enjoyed watching her process, so definitely check her out if you are looking for a more how-to, step-by-step on her process, whereas I'm just gonna be winging it the whole time and telling you things that you didn't know about snails and ducks. So let's start by talking about snails. Pop quiz, do you know the difference between slugs and snails? That's a trick question. Kinda. Snails and slugs are technically the same thing, but the only difference is that snails have a shell and slugs just live their best squishy life, and honestly same. Slugs and snails are mollusks, so they are in the same family as oysters, clams, and mussels. Gastropod is the taxonomic class for snails and slugs and take up more than 80% of living mollusk species. They are also the most diverse group of animals in terms of form, habitat, and behaviors. Well, there are as many as 150,000 species of gastropods, and they live in almost all habitats from the deep ocean trenches to deserts. Another way that snails and slugs are diverse is in their sizes. Some species can grow up to 1.5 feet long, and that's pretty big for a slug if you ask me. Imagine like a lapdog sized slug, or like a lap slug, oh my gosh. So snails and slugs can get pretty big, but they can also get really, really small. The world's smallest land snail could fit through the eye of a needle. The Angustapilla dominicae may be the smallest land snail ever found, and its shell is just 0.03 inches tall, and any snail shorter than 0.2 inches officially qualifies as a microgastropod. Another way that snails and slugs are so diverse is that some snails have hairy shells. Several species of terrestrial snails have hairy shells, especially the juveniles. Scientists think that this might be an adaptation that improves locomotion in wet environments, since hairy snails tend to come from more humid areas. In the case of a snailk, it's less hairy and more feathery. Before we get back into talking about snails, if you're enjoying this video so far, maybe leave it a little like or a comment, especially if you learned something so far. I didn't know any of this stuff until I started making this video, video, and I just can't get over a lapdog-sized slug. Oh my gosh, imagine a pug is just a puppy slug. I totally need to draw a puppy slug now. Anyway, back to snails. Something that I found really interesting is that the myth of Cupid's arrow might come from the mating rituals of a garden snail. Valentine's Day is coming up, so I might do a whole video about this entirely. But long story short, some of these snails shoot quote-unquote love darts at an object of their affections containing mucus that increases the chances of their sperm surviving, which, by the way, snails are hermaphrodites, so both individuals receive sperm during mating. In early times, people believed that these snot rockets were gifts of calcium or were some kind of aphrodisiac, and according to Ron Chase from McGill University, this might be the inspiration behind Cupid's desire-inducing arrow. I'm personally not super sure about this theory, and if you happen to know the origins of Cupid, please share it in the comments below. I just think it's interesting that snails might be little cupids in a really strange, weird, and creepy way. Speaking of sticky, snotty mucuses, researchers from Boston Children's Hospital and MIT have developed an adhesive that mimics the stickiness of slugs' slime, the same gel that allows marine snails to cling to rocks underwater. This medical glue is designed for use in repairing heart defects and would stick to even jagged surfaces where traditional sutures might leak. So far, it's only been tested on pigs' hearts though, and the article that I found this on is from 2015, so if you guys are really interested, just let me know if you want me to look into this further. I just think it's so interesting that snails apparently inspire not only Cupid's bow, but also glue. What cool little trendsetters. Also, I do want to mention quickly that any information that I share in any of my videos, I leave links to the sources that I use for that information in my description box, so you can do your own research and learn more about the animals that I talk about. I can't cover everything in the sources that I find in the video, so I encourage you to check it out and go down your own learning rabbit hole like I find myself in all the time, especially when it comes to animals. The last quick fact that I wanted to share about snails is a really cute and wholesome one, and it's that snails like to dine together. Some garden snails prefer eating from the same food source as another snail, even when there's already other food readily available nearby. And I just thought that was so cute, like a little snail dinner date. How sweet is that? So now let's move on and talk about ducks, shall we? So we all know what a duck is and probably have seen one in person at some point, and I'm sure if not, you've seen cartoons like Looney Tunes, or Donald Duck in Disney, or the Aflac commercials, or even the classic children's story, The Ugly Duckling. Also, apparently autocorrect spelling on my iPhone thinks that ducks are common enough to talk about all the time, apparently. Can anyone else relate? If you know, you know. So ducks are pretty common. In fact, there are approximately 120 different species of duck. Like, I'm sorry, I can think of maybe 4 or 5 types of duck off the top of my head, but 120 different species? That's amazing. Ducks are mostly aquatic birds, and they live in both freshwater and seawater, and are found in every continent except Antarctica. And listen, I don't want to live in Antarctica either. Can you blame them? Apparently slugs can even be found in the Arctic and Antarctica, so I guess nothing can stop slugs from living their best life, and we love that for them. So back to ducks. We have been domesticating ducks as pets for more than 500 years, and all domestic ducks are descended from either a mallard or a Muscovy duck. By the way, I am using a male mallard duck as reference for this SNAILCK drawing, just because I love their pretty emerald heads. I just adore that color. In the wild, ducks can live 20 years or more, and the world record is a mallard duck that lived to be 27 years old. Domesticated ducks, however, typically live 10 to 15 years or less in captivity. So we all know ducks' feet are webbed to allow them to paddle and swim through water smoothly. I mean, besides the duck bills, the webbed feet is definitely one of the most defining features of a duck in my opinion. But something I didn't didn't know is that ducks' feet have no nerves or blood vessels, meaning their feet do not feel the cold. Must be nice. This week has been brutal where I'm at, and my fingers get so cold just exposed to air, and I don't even want to think about being in freezing cold water. It just sounds unbearable, but luckily ducks can swim in icy water and walk in ice and snow no problem because they just can't feel anything, or they can't feel cold at least. Ducks also have really good vision and see in color. They also have not one, not two, but 3 eyelids. They have the top and the bottom, as well as a third that is found on the side of the eye, and this one is clear and it acts like little swim goggles. All ducks have highly waterproof feathers as a result of an intricate feather structure and waxy coating that is spread on each feather while preening, so even when the duck is completely submerged underwater and diving for food, its downy underlayer of feathers will stay completely dry. The last thing I wanted to talk about is that male ducks are called drakes, apparently. Females are called hens, and baby ducks are of course called ducklings. Well, I hope you guys learned something new about snails and ducks and are enjoying watching me get through my first illustration focused mainly on alcohol markers. I do add line art with the brush pen in the art liner set that came with Jazza's Pro Artist series box. And if you saw last week's video where I really put this brush pen to the test and use it for the line art for my Farret, my fox ferret hybrid, I raved on and on about how satisfying this brush pen is to use. But for this drawing, I didn't want to go too nuts with the line art though, because I still wanted the majority of the focus to be on the alcohol markers. So I tried to use the line art as just a way to clean up any edges that I may have gone out of bounds with a little bit with the markers. I also end up using a bit of colored pencil from Jazza's Pro Artist series box, but not a whole lot honestly, because I'm not sure I'm a fan of colored pencils on marker yet, and maybe it's just because I felt so limited with the range of colored pencils in this art box. So I'm wondering if I use my other colored pencils where I have more of a variety of colors, I might like it more, but I guess I won't know until I try it. I think the main challenge that I tackled was with alcohol markers, and I think through this drawing I learned a lot and I can only get better from here. Also, something I noticed while editing this video is that I didn't add the shell of this snail in the reflection of the water. Oops. I might add it later for fun, but also listen, we are just gonna ignore that, and maybe the shell has a magical element to it and you can't see it in reflections, like vampires or something. Oh my gosh, picture a vampire slug with like little fangs. How cute would that be? Anyway, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave it a like and subscribe for more art and animal related content. I upload a new video here every Friday, and I would love for you to become a creative critter with me and follow along on my YouTube journey. If you made it this far, leave me a comment and let me know what other animals you want to learn more about, or any animal hybrid ideas that you want to see me make come to life in a drawing. I do also have a Patreon with a couple tiers where I give you a drawing every month of an animal or an animal hybrid of your choice. So if you're interested in that, definitely check out my Patreon. I have links to that in my description as well. I definitely want to draw a puppy slug or a pug or both, so make sure you follow me on Instagram, and if I get around to it, that's definitely where I'll be posting it. Like I said, all my socials are linked in my description, as always. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. Stay creative, and I'll see you next Friday's video.